Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. We are now just 1 week away until WWE Survivor Series. NoDQ.com, of course, has you covered with all the latest regarding Survivor Series. Also, don't forget about NXT TakeOver Toronto. This week we will have predictions for both Survivor Series and TakeOver on this YouTube channel, and NoDQ.com will have the latest news updates. With that being said, let's get down to your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift. First one today comes from Gareth Smith. With the Royal Rumble now being 4 hours, could we see the Rumble match being 40 men to fill time and add more surprises? There's always a possibility WWE will do that, but I'm really hoping that they don't. I'm not a fan of the 40-man Royal Rumbles. I think it's overkill. I like 30. I like the way it's been for almost 30 years now. Actually, yeah, it will be just about 30 years coming up. I think when they did that 40-man Royal Rumble, it was just too much. Now, I could see WWE doing it, but you have to keep in mind that the rosters are pretty thin on Raw and SmackDown, so you would really need to have every single person in that match, and then perhaps additional people from NXT, or bringing in guys from the outside for a one-time appearance at the Royal Rumble. I'm just not a fan of the 40-man matches. I think WWE should just stick to the 30-man Royal Rumble. But they could always end up doing it just to say it's the biggest Royal Rumble since 2011, of course. This next one comes from Beast Slayer. Are you excited? Are you excited for a 4-hour Royal Rumble? Longer and longer pay-per-views. Your thoughts? I'm not surprised at all because we've seen SummerSlam become a longer show and now Survivor Series is going to be a longer show. Royal Rumble is arguably the second biggest pay-per-view of the year next to WrestleMania. And some people are arguing that that's a reason why it should be a 40-man Royal Rumble because they're adding more time to the pay-per-view. I'd still rather see WWE focus on other matches and just let the Royal Rumble be the one 30-man Royal Rumble, no 40-man Royal Rumble, no 10 women Royal Rumble in addition to a 30-man Royal Rumble. Just do the one 30-man Royal Rumble match and let that be it. It's something special that we only get to see once a year, and hopefully there's a winner that the fans will be satisfied with. I know people were mostly happy with Triple H winning, and then of course people very upset about Roman Reigns and Batista winning, so I'm hoping that WWE will do the 30-man Royal Rumble and then have a winner that the fans are satisfied with. Got this one here from RPA Brand. Hey Aaron, what's your opinion about Brock Lesnar versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania for the Universal title and finally passing the torch? I think it's potentially a good idea. I would prefer Samoa Joe in that role as the guy to beat Brock Lesnar and Lesnar passing the torch to Joe. The problem with Kevin Owens, despite him being the Universal Champion, is he hasn't really been booked like a killer. He's been booked almost like a comedic figure. Him and Jericho being this buddy-buddy pairing and them doing the comedy with the list of Jericho. And it's been hard to really take Owens seriously as this cold-blooded killer. He hasn't really been booked that way, and he's squeaked by with his victories. So I think that if WWE had booked Owens differently, then he very well could have been that guy to beat Brock Lesnar, but you'll always have the people saying Kevin Owens doesn't have the look to beat Brock Lesnar, and people will come up with whatever excuse they want to. I just think if they had booked him better, he would have been a better candidate to be the guy that beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and I think somebody should. But it has to be the right guy with the right booking behind that person. Got this one here from Paul Bessman. Where do you rank The Undertaker among the all-time greats? Is he in the same class as Flair, Austin, or Hogan? Why or why not? Absolutely. Undertaker has to be in the top 5. I think for most people, he would make the top 5. Any random wrestling fan you ask to name the top 5 WWE stars of all time, I think many would have Undertaker in that top 5 list. And let's face it, right now he is winning the poll for the NoDQ.com Hall of Fame. So unless something changes, he'll be the first living male superstar to go into the NoDQ.com Hall of Fame, ahead of Austin, ahead of Hogan, which I personally disagree with. I think it should be Austin or Hogan, but the fans right now are voting for Undertaker, and it's hard to argue Undertaker being a top contender for the Hall of Fame because he's had one of the greatest careers of all time in WWE, and the fans have so much respect for him. So absolutely he's a top 5 guy. I mean, you know, my top 5, Hogan, Austin, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, and then some would argue Bret Hart as number 5 or John Cena as number 5. But Undertaker's right there. I mean, I think I would put him at number 4 after... Well, let's not forget about The Rock. So it's debatable between Michaels and Undertaker for that 5th spot, in my opinion. But many out there would put Undertaker ahead of The Rock or Shawn Michaels, or even ahead of Hogan and Steve Austin. This one comes from Austin West. Do you see the Jericho-Kevin Owens split leading to a Universal title match at WrestleMania 33 between the two? Who would be the face and heel? That's an interesting question because initially I thought it was going to be Jericho and Kevin Owens splitting up by the time of Hell in a Cell and then maybe having a match at Survivor Series, and then Jericho goes off to resume his work with Fozzy. It's interesting. I mean, there's always the possibility of Jericho doing the stuff with Fozzy and then just coming in for WrestleMania to do the match with Kevin Owens. I mean, that would be nice to have that match take place on a big stage like WrestleMania, and considering how much we've had invested into this storyline, it might make logical sense to do it at WrestleMania. So that all, I think, depends on Jericho and what his schedule is looking like. Who knows when that match is happening, but one would think that they will pull the trigger on it sometime in the next 6 months, unless it's going to be like the Dean Ambrose Roman Reigns thing where they never split up, which would be really weird because they've been teasing it, and one would think they're going to pull the trigger on it sooner than later. And as far as who would be the heel, I think it would have to be Owens. I think the fans love Jericho so much. And this whole list of Jericho, I mean, Jericho's been great as a heel, but the fans want to cheer him so badly, and I think Owens would get a lot of heel heat by beating Jericho and just beating the crap out of Jericho and sending Jericho packing back to Fozzy, writing Jericho out of the storylines by severely injuring Jericho. Doing something like that, I think, would give Owens a tremendous amount of heat. So I think it would make more sense for Owens to be the villain and let Jericho be the legend babyface trying to shut up this young heel Kevin Owens. Just seems like the natural way to go. Got this one here from Lou E. Is Chris Jericho the greatest of all time, the way he reinvents himself, longevity, matches, and his WWE runs? I'm not sure if I would say he's the greatest, or going back to earlier with the Undertaker question, I'm not even sure if Jericho makes the top 5, at least for me. I mean, for some, he might make the top 5. I mean, Jericho has been an overall great performer in WWE. He's always been towards the top, but he's never been at the top. He's never been the guy that the company has built itself around, and even Undertaker hasn't really been that guy. But with Jericho, I mean, yeah, he has reinvented himself so many times, and you know, one could argue he's definitely a top 10 superstar in WWE history, and just tremendous what he's done. I mean, not just in the ring, but changing up his character and reinventing himself. He's done it multiple times now, and he's kept himself fresh. He's managed to change with the times and evolve his character, and nothing but respect for Chris Jericho and the work he's done and making his character interesting. When it was getting stale, he changed it up. And I wish we would see that for more characters like John Cena, but, you know, it is what it is. And I give Jericho credit for being able to make the changes and stay fresh. I mean, it's something that's very difficult to do. When you're on television for so many years, Jericho has pulled it off. He's managed to step away and come back and make an impact, and he's doing it the right way, and I think other people can definitely learn from Jericho. This one comes from Ali. Isn't it hard to generate decent heel heat nowadays due to most of the heels getting cheered in today's WWE? Absolutely, and to Jericho's credit, he's finding creative ways to get heel heat by refusing to put people on the list of Jericho, refusing to put a certain city, saying they're not even deserving to be on the list. I think that's great. I mean, Jericho's thinking outside the box and doing whatever he can to get heel heat. It's really tough. I mean, in today's social media era, it's hard. And, somebody asked me, is kayfabe dead because so many wrestlers are going on social media and it's hard to like somebody, or hard to hate somebody, excuse me. It's hard to hate somebody like Kevin Owens when you see that he's a devoted family man with his kid and his wife. And I think that it would help if guys on social media had separate accounts, one account for their wrestling persona and another account for their personal life. I just think that would be better. There are little things that can be done, and as far as getting the heel heat, I mean, yeah, part of it's also the storytelling and being able to have really compelling storylines, which we honestly haven't seen that much in WWE lately. Like I said, if Owens did something like beat the holy crap out of Jericho and put Jericho out of commission, and Owens was the reason that Jericho was not on television and he went out and gloated about it, I think that would give him some heel heat. And Owens could use it because he's been getting cheered all the time. I think him beating up a legend like Chris Jericho would help him as a heel. So there are things that can be done. It's just a matter of WWE having the writing ability to present it to the audience and giving them a reason to not like these characters. This one comes from Austin Allen. Do you think that Shawn Michaels should have won more than one world title in his 2002 to 2010 run? No, I do not feel it was necessary. I mean, Shawn Michaels had arguably a better second half of his career than the first run. And he only had, like you said, a one title reign, which I think was like a month. He won it at Survivor Series and then lost it at Armageddon the next month. That was all he needed. I mean, Shawn Michaels could be one of the best in the company. He did not need to be the WWE champion. It wasn't necessary. I think that his second run was just amazing in every way, and he did not need the world title. He was Shawn Michaels. He went out there and delivered at a main event level, and he did not need a title to come across as a main eventer. Everybody could see it in his performances. This one comes from Wrestling Tubes. Hey Aaron, do you think turning Natalya heel at Money in the Bank killed her career completely dead? No, I do not. I think that it actually helped her because she was really going nowhere as a babyface character, and once we had the brand extension, Becky Lynch was going to be positioned as the top female star, and then with Nikki Bella coming back, she was going to be number 2, so it's either be the number 3 or be the number 1 or number 2 heel. And I know Alexa Bliss is perhaps the number 1, but Natalya's right up there. And maybe Carmella's battling with Natalya for number 2. But I think it's helped Natalya overall being a heel. And it gave her a little bit of more longevity in WWE because she had been a face for so long. And it just changes things up for her a little bit. So I think it was a good thing to turn her heel overall. I think it did help her a bit rather than hurt her. Next one comes from Donta. If you were running Raw or SmackDown, how would you make it great again? What's killing WWE? Not having TV 14 or storyline? Definitely storyline. 100% storyline. I've said this many times before. It's not the rating of the show that matters. It's the quality of the writing. You can have compelling storylines with a PG product. I mean, there have been times in history where WWE's had very entertaining storylines. I mean, look at 1991 when they did those storylines with Ric Flair and Roddy Piper and Randy Savage and Jake Roberts, although that was kind of pushing the envelope a bit for that time. But still, you had a lot of compelling storylines over the years that were not overly edgy or TV 14 or whatever. So it's a matter of just having good storylines and good storytelling. I mean, CM Punk and John Cena had a great storyline when CM Punk did the pipe bomb, and that was CM Punk doing the work to shoot, but still it wasn't like he was using profanity or making sexual references. He was just ranting on the company, and that was safe for kids, and it was very compelling. So yeah, that's one of the major problems. And SmackDown's been pretty good. It's hard to criticize SmackDown because I think overall the shows have been very solid. With Raw, I mean, the obvious problem is being 3 hours. I mean, that is the first thing I would change, is go back to 2 hours. But from a financial standpoint, WWE's making that money and USA Network's happy with the third hour. So it's unlikely anything's going to change in that regard. And what would I do with a 3 hour Raw? I mean, just you need to bring in some fresh blood. Get in new writers, get them in there and have them do something different. Think outside the box, try new things, experiment. That's really all I can say at this point. I mean, if I had the answers, I would probably be writing for WWE if my mind could even handle that, if I could handle the stress of it. I mean, to the credit of the writers, I mean, they have a lot of work. I mean, it's a huge workload to write for WWE, and you're writing new first-run television every single week, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy for those guys, and it's very easy to criticize them when you're behind a computer. It's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to be going there and being in their shoes and writing those shows. So I would have some new people involved, though, because what's going on now I don't really feel is working, and I think you need to try different things and experiment more. This one comes from Tarab. I think that's the correct pronunciation. I'm not sure. I apologize if I butchered that. And do you think that the next time Becky defends the title, it will be a ladder match versus Alexa at TLC? Hashtag give the women a chance, or give SmackDown women a chance. And this is a first-time asker. Thank you for the question. I think it's unlikely we see a one-on-one match. I mean, after Hell in a Cell, I'm not sure WWE's going to be in a rush. In particular, Vince McMahon. I don't think he's going to be in a rush to have another one-on-one women's match where they're doing a lot of hardcore spots, like bumping off of ladders. If it does happen, I think it's more likely they do a triple threat or a four-way. I think doing 5 or 6 women in a match would be overkill and could end up being a train wreck. I mean, I think a triple threat match might be good, but I think it's unlikely they do a women's TLC match, just because I think it's better if you're going to do a new match with the women. I think, I mentioned this in a recent video, I think it's better to do like a Queen of the Ring tournament, or something where they're not doing a bunch of hardcore spots. Let the women actually just wrestle instead of trying to do the crazy spots like what the men do. Just going off of Hell in a Cell and how things did not work out ideally in that match, and apparently there's heat on Sasha Banks for not going through the tables, the way she was supposed to. So I think the odds are against it. Could end up happening, but I think Vince will probably be against it, and I think this time he'll get his way. So we'll see what happens. This one comes from James Cowell. Hey Aaron, what do you think of TNA starting their own network, considering they're having financial difficulties? I laughed at it. I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole concept of TNA doing a network is absurd. Now, the Fight Network might have more TNA footage available. They might try to do something. I mean, if you go on the Fight Network's app on Roku, they do have some TNA pay-per-views on there. So it's possible they may add more content and try to develop their own version of a TNA network, but it's not going to make a damn business-wise. It's not going to make a damn difference for TNA to have their own network. I just think it's silly. I mean, the whole thing... I'm really disappointed because I was hoping Billy Corgan would get control of TNA and maybe rebrand it and try to do something different with it and give it a fresh start, a fresh coat of paint. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. And quite frankly, as long as Dixie's got some power, I think TNA's screwed. I think it's going to be more the same and nothing's going to change for the better. And you can do the network, you can do anything you want like that, but it's not really going to make any kind of real difference. Just the way I see it. That'll do it for No DQ&A video. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe at youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. You can add me on Facebook at Aaron Rift. Also on Twitter where you can send in questions. And follow NoDQ.com on Twitter. NoDQ, DOTCOM. Same thing goes for Facebook. Like NoDQ on Facebook. And that'll do it. I will see you guys next time for more.